Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you're watching this. For me, it's the morning time, and it's the morning after Monday, which is when we have our weekly group call where we talk about chords and chord progressions in the context of composition. This is the whole point. So I want to give you guys tasks, feedback, and instruction on how to write chord progressions. So what we went over yesterday was essentially taking a common chord progression in its basic format and using it as a template to see what other types of extensions, ninths, 11ths, 13ths, 7ths, we can add to this progression, as well as functional substitutions for other chords later on, which we're going to get to, and I'll explain this all in detail. So firstly, if all of this is new to you, I'm going to give a brief kind of breakdown of at least the terminology and lingo that I'll be talking about so that this will make sense to you as we move along. So over here we can see we've got a chord progression. So example A. So it says triad. So it's a 2, 5 to a 1. What this is saying is that we're in a key. Chord progressions appear within a key. And chords come from a major scale. You can actually think that every chord comes from a major scale. And the most common major scale that chords come from is the C major scale. Okay, so if we stack these notes on top of one another, we skip one and play one, we skip one and play one, and we add them together, it makes chords. I'm not going to go into detail on that. I have an entire course that explains this in the classroom section if you're interested. Or if you have questions, please let me know in the questions section on the community page. So in the key of C, the C chord would be considered the one chord of that key. D minor is considered 2, E minor is 3, F is 4, G is 5, A minor is 6, B diminished is 7. Okay, so we've got these 7 chords, and now I can think of them in terms of numbers. So if I'm in the key of C, and I want to play a 2 chord, well, C is the 1, D is the 2, and the type of chord that was built on the 2 was a minor chord. For a lot of you, this is going to be review, but this may be new to some of you. So now we can speak in this language. I'm saying we're playing a 2, 5, 1 in the key of C. Okay, so that's going to mean D minor, G major, and C major. So for us guitar players, you can express that D minor, G major, to C major. You may notice in the chart here, the way that I've voiced these chords may seem strange to you. However, try to play them like that. I was intentionally trying to get good voice leading between the chords, like the individual way the notes move between each chord. I was being intentional about that. But you can just play any D minor, any G, any C. It doesn't really matter. It's going to give you the same effect. But for those interested in different voicings, you can play around with these. Now, that's pretty straightforward. And how many times have you guys played D minor, G to C? You know, it's a really, really common thing. So, okay, we've got this chord progression, but how do we make it more interesting? Well, one thing that we can do is think of what other extensions are available to be added to these chords. Now, the first extension that may come to mind are sevenths. So now that's going to give us some different options. We've got D minor 7 to G7. Let me play that chord correctly. So D minor 7 to G7 to C major 7. So the chords haven't changed. We've still got D minor, G major to C major, but now it's D minor with a 7 on it, G with a 7 on it, and C with a 7 on it. We can express that like this. So I'm referring to example B on the tab. And if you're used to playing minor 7th chords, you probably haven't played this shape. This is usually the one we do. And I intentionally chose this voicing so you can have something new. Root, flat 3, flat 7, flat 3 again. So it doesn't really matter how we play minor 7th chords. The point is that it's a minor 7th chord. On the 2 in the key of C, meaning D. Next we've got G7 coming up next, and I've got another cool voicing for you if you're used to playing 7th chords. And then C major 7th is next. So one more time. Okay, so far our harmonic sphere revolves around a 2-5-1 progression, triads. We've added sevenths to those triads now. And now let's see what happens if we add other extensions. So I've got ninths here. So those who were there, you know who you are. This is the chord that we started on, this minor 9 chord. So that's going to look like this on a keyboard. Okay, root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, 9. On guitar, since we're limited to 6 strings or 6 voices available at any one time, when we're getting into chords, you know, with 5 notes and more, it's tricky to play all of the notes in the chord. So something that we can do is omit or leave out notes that aren't as important, you could say. And the first note that is common to leave out is the 5th. So I don't need to play this. See how much it changes the chord? So without, with. Okay, it doesn't need to be there. And when we're voicing minor 9 chords on the guitar, this is a comfy one for the hand. It just so happens to have no 5th in it. You could add the 5th by barring that bottom string, but man, I always have a hard time playing it. There we go. Like it is, I could get that, but this is totally fine for a minor 9 chord. So we've got minor 9 on the 2. We are going to 5 dominant next, but we're going to play dominant 9. Sorry, you can't see my guitar. Check the tabs though, it's a pretty easy chord. 1, flat 7, 9, 3. And then we're going to C next, but major 9 this time. Let me play that again. So 2, 5, 1. So again, we're just doing 2 5-1s, but we've added 7ths, now we're adding 9ths to it. This is the progression. So now it's going to get interesting. I don't know if I need to move that over or make this bigger. One sec. There. I'll have the PDF for you guys linked to this video as well, so don't worry if you can't see it too well right now. Okay. Now, as we move along, things will become a lot more structured, and I'm learning where all of you are at with your harmonic vocabulary. So we were kind of playing around yesterday, and there's a really cool sound that I like the sound of. An interesting concept, which I'm not going to go into detail behind the mechanisms of why this works at this point. I can in a further video if that's something you want to know about. So we're talking about dominant chords here. Dominant chords. So a dominant chord is a major triad that also has a flattened 7th on it. So relative to C, it's going to be C major plus this note B flat here. I can find that by grabbing the root note, going down 2 half steps. That's going to be the minor 7th interval of that note. So major chord plus a flat 7th interval equals dominant chord. Okay, but we're playing in the key of C, and dominant chords appear on the 5th degree of major scales. In major diatonic harmony, dominant chords naturally appear on the 5. So since we're in the key of C, that's going to be this G7 chord here. So G is the 5 chord in the key of C, and that's where the dominant chord appears. Okay? And so something cool that we can do is, so this sound, right, of going to dominant chords before ones, it's kind of hokey pokey soundy, you know? I mean, when we get those dominant 9 chords going, it sounds pretty sweet, but when we're just playing with maybe triads or 7ths, you know, dominant chords are so hokey pokey sounding. Or at least what it sounds like to me. And maybe I don't always want that hokey pokey sound, but I also do want to get the sound of 5. And the way that 5 chords work, the way that dominant chords work, is they create an instability between them See this instability here between these? See how tense that is? So this tension basically wants to resolve. Like, we as humans, we don't want to hang out there for too long. It kind of feels weird. It's like, hey, yeah, I get it. Can we just go back home now? So that's what it does. It acts as a giant arrow saying, we're going back home now. Okay, this is literally what dominant chords do. Okay, so now let's think, are there other ways that we can make it be an arrow but not go the hokey pokey route back home? Maybe that's one way we can think about it. So we can grab a dominant chord. So if we're on G dominant, I can express this same sound by going to this guy's tritone. So a tritone is the name of an interval that is 6 half steps away. So I'll show you what I mean. So if I'm on G, a tritone will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a diminished fifth. It's 1 half step below a perfect fifth. Okay. So now what we're going to do is go to the tritone of 5. We're in the key of C, remember? G is 5. We're going to go to its tritone. Okay. What note is this? It is C sharp or D flat. And this is saying that we can play a dominant chord on the tritone. Okay, so just let that sink in for a second. I'm going to say it again. We're on G. We're going to C. Right? It goes 2, 5, 1. But instead of going 2 to 5, we can go 2 to tritone sub of 5, which in this case is C sharp. We'll play dominant. And then we can go to 1. So it's like 2, 5, 1. Okay, so that's the concept. You can play dominant chords a tritone away, and basically they're kind of the same thing. 2 of the notes are the same. I can give you an example of that. So if we're on G, these notes here are going to stay throughout the chord, because relative to G, bear with me here, this is the 3rd, this is the 5th, this is the flat 7. We're going to the tritone, right? This note, C sharp. So this note doesn't need to move because it's flat 7. And this note doesn't need to move because it's the 3rd. I just need to add a 5th. Okay. So when you take a dominant chord and you go a tritone away, 2 of the notes between both of the chords are identical and the other ones change. So in other words, it's basically the same chord, just a little bit different, and it functions the same way. Now, the point to this is, in principle, if G is 5 of C, and we go to its tritone, what is this note relative to the key in principle? Well, this is the flat 2 of this. We started on 2, we went to 5, we went to 1. Or we can go 2, flat 2, 1, 2, flat 2, 1. Okay, so let's take a look at these examples I've got written out here for us. Oh, I've also got this guy. The whole point of this was, there's a sound that I really like, dominant 9, sharp 11, or flat 5 chords, or whatever you want to call them. So this sound, I wanted to show you guys this sound. So you can get this sound, and it appears on the flat 2 of keys, because this is the tritone sub of 5. Okay, so here's the example. So I'm looking at example F now. So D minor 9, we're going to go to flat 2, dominant 9, and we'll finish it off on 1. 1 add 9. Again. And last up, it's the same progression. We're just going to add a note on this. This is D minor 11, so it's adding a fourth on top of a minor 9 chord. Okay, guitar. It's like this. Then we're going to that chord that I just talked about. So C sharp, dominant 9, flat 5, or sharp 11, whatever. It doesn't really matter what we call it. And then we can resolve this to C major. Okay. So, just to recap everything, we took a common progression, a 2-5-1, and then we looked at what other extensions are available on this chord. So another way to check that out is on, bear with me here, my Loom video isn't so helpful here. So you can come into the EarIQ platform, come into Classroom, into Toolkit. There's chord studies and chord and charts and diagrams. We want to come into charts. So here there is a map of chords. Let me just close this, make some room. So this is telling us where all the diatonic extensions for different scale degrees are. So on the 2, remember we were playing a 2-5-1 progression. So on a 2 chord in a major key, all of these chords are available. And the first time we were just playing 2 minor, 5 major, and 1 major, right? D minor, G major, C major. The second time through we were playing 7th chords. So we went 2 minor 7, 5 dominant 7th, 1 major 7th. Respectively, that was D, G, C. Then we added 9ths to it, we added 11ths, and so on. So you can come to the platform to find the chart on there. Also, in the chord studies, one sec, where did I put that? Charts and diagrams, chords. So what we want, I've got a common chords chart for you guys. Lots of awesome chords in there. How it works is that it's organized by chords with root notes on the low E string. Okay, so this is saying minor 9th chords. There's a way to play it on the E string, and then I've given you a way to play it on the A string. Okay. So this chart correlates directly to the Chord Formulas chart. Okay, so it's in order. So this is telling you, to make a minor 7 flat 5 chord, we need these intervals. The spelling of that relative to C looks like this, and the notes in that chord relative to C are these. So if I want to find where a minor 7/6 chord is, I can come over here, go to my common chords. It was way at the bottom, scroll to the bottom. There they are, minor 7/6 chords. There's some shapes for you on the varying strings. Okay. So, for homework and a task, I'd like you to learn the chord progressions that I've written out for you. I think that's a good way to do it for now. If that is too easy for some of you, again, I'm still getting to know you and your different strengths and talents with the guitar and music. So if that's too easy, let me know, and I can provide more tasks for you, such as a composition challenge. But for now, I think that learning the progression, getting it under your fingers, is a good way to go. So I'll leave you all with that, and see you soon.